welcome to Investors Hangout. This special interaction to help you understand savings and investment issues is brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. We're barely a day away from celebrating our country's 75th Independence Day, and despite the fear of COVID lurking, the spirits are high. So we want to take this opportunity to celebrate freedom, and if it has to do anything with value research, it has to be financial freedom. So joining me today is our CEO, Dhirendra Kumar.
Welcome, Dhirendra.
Thank you.
Today, I want to start with myself because to me, financial freedom is I should have enough financial cushion to fall back on if I ever need it. It also means that if I really want to buy something, I should be able to do that without, having to depend on someone else to do it for me. That's how I perceive it. What's your view on it?
Yeah, that is good to begin with. One is that, if you are able to save, which means you are able to earn. Having the freedom to buy something, which means you have the cushion. But that's a good starting point. But that is not good enough. You have to see really long term, in terms of today your needs could be, that you want to buy few things. Tomorrow, but the real financial cushion means that, you should be at absolute liberty to do whatever you want to. Our initial needs are very limited. If you go by the Maslow's need hierarchy, which I studied in my first year of business education, was that everybody has a physiological need. You need to eat, you need to live safely and all that. Then the safety, you need emotional safety, basic safety, which every human aspires to. And then comes the social needs. If you do all this, then you want to be recognized in the surrounding, that okay, you have done something meaningful. And finally, what matters is the self-actualization. People will enjoy doing something. And it may not be financial. It could be, something which may not require money. You want to do something, and your taste for music, or taste for a pastime which you want to really pursue full time. So money can actually help you. Without money, or without being wealthy, or being well off, you will not be able to pursue that, because for most of us who are working, and our primary mode of our earning is that we work, and normally your work is that you are being paid in exchange for your time, coupled with your skill. So if you are able to accumulate, grow your money well, and if you are much more than well off, then only you can pursue the final thing, which is the self-actualization bit. So you're right that you should be able to buy something, all the essentials and beyond that, but it could be different. It could be very different from the essentials. It will give the real freedom, because most people aspire to be happy, and to be happy you need to be able to achieve that thing, that what I was saying is self-actualization, and that requires, unless you have these things in place, it won't happen.
So does it all boil down to just earning more and saving? That's about it?
Much more than that. Earning more and saving also has a lot of steps. Like if you don't have a good foundation of your savings, you will get disrupted. For example, if you don't have an emergency fund, you will lay your hands on your long-term money. Likewise, if you don't have a health insurance, you will little sickness in the family, or somebody falling ill, and your savings or investment plan will get derailed. So you will leave your family in the lurch if you're not adequate, if you're a financial, if your contributions are very meaningful in your family, and your family depends on that, because everything else will happen in future, but right now your family does not have enough adequate cover. So without having that foundation, you won't reach there. Then being conscious of all this, and then saving is not enough. Of course, you have to invest. So having those foundational things, and then having an investment plan. And once you have that investment plan, then you can aspire for all those things. You can put a time frame to it, and feel so much more comfortable, because the cost of not knowing where you are headed is very significant. Because once in a while, you will get into spending mode, and you will get once again derailed. Because the solution to most of our financial aspiration, or the scale of money that we require, the solution to most of it is save more and think long term, give it time. And in the initial stages, our odds are against you. You won't have enough money, then you won't be able to demand. So I think for everybody who is getting started, it's very important to start somehow. Once you have started somehow, build the foundational thing. Then once you have done that, then stay on course, and stay on course for at least 2-3 years. then you don't need to listen to me to understand what compounding is. You would have experienced it. Once you realize that you have invested 2,500 rupees every month, and in 3 years time your principal contribution is just about 90,000 rupees, and it has grown to something which you never thought you will have. So because teaching and learning, teaching doesn't help, because everybody has studied this in their class 8th or 9th arithmetic. It does not register. And our savings, investing is a very difficult thing, because investing is postponed consumption, and it is competing with immediate gratification. You are looking at things, walking in a mall, and you are getting tempted to buy things, and
These are the times when EMIs are the order of the
you can actually mortgage your future income to consume something right away. I really wonder that someday it will be Domino's pizza might be available on an EMI. So I don't know, but I wonder that this kind of taking the temptation to spend your future income is a very dangerous thing. That I think we should keep it limited only to something urgent, something emergent, emergency, something which is critical. Otherwise, there is no end to it, and you will never be able to be financially independent. Leave aside be financially secure.
So someone who is aspiring to be financially independent, can you give us a roadmap for that? How to go about
Yeah,
it?
it's a very simple roadmap. Save always. I would say that the starting point should be do little bit of budgeting, and keep the margin of splurging. Say, assuming that, I'm just giving an example, that if you're starting with something like a salary of 50,000 rupees a month, and you think that you definitely need to spend 35,000 rupees, and so start saving 5,000 rupees from month one anyway, and the remaining 10,000 keep for because early stages of life, you just feel like having that margin of spending.
Yeah.
But fall in habit of saving from day one. That is critical, because it cannot be taught. It has to be experienced, and then you have to appreciate it. Then comes building the foundation stuff: health insurance, life insurance if you have dependents, and emergency fund. Because whatever you do, if you are stuck somewhere and you don't have money, so first money, keep it there, keep it in the bank account. It should be accessible. You don't have to invest. Keep it handy. Once you have done this, then and by that time, 1 year, 1.5 year, you would have experienced that, okay, that small money which you are investing, the compounding has been demonstrated. Then I think he will take care of himself.
You also said it doesn't have, one can't teach this to someone. But I guess hammering does help, saying it again and again, it does help. From my personal experience, I can say that that's also how you go about it. If you keep listening to it, it does have an impact on you. So,
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that, okay, you are nice for yourself. But most people don't want to listen to it, because, if I have to choose between spending and investing for the future, I think, the joyful thing will be spending it. So you listen what you want to.
all right, time now to move on to our viewers' questions. And the first one comes in from Rashmi Duggal. She wants to know what should be the strategy for someone who has already redeemed a major part of the equity investments in anticipation of a market crash.
You are not alone. There are so many people who were tempted to get out of the market simply because the market kept going up and it is at an all-time high. And when it is at an all-time high, goes up a little bit, it's again an all-time high. And if so many people are surprised by this, take a lesson from this, that you can't guess the market, and look at the opportunity loss. Take a note of it, that how much you have lost by trying to time it. You have experienced it. And the third thing is that what to do now. Think yourself as an investor, because now your thought is anchored to the total amount that is lying in your bank account, and you will have the same pain or the same happiness depending on where the money think of yourself as a new investor. And as a new investor, what is a thoughtful way of investing a large sum of money? One is that invest in a methodical way. And I would normally I say that don't wait for the market. Your money was already there in the equity, and if you are switching it, then one can well move all the money directly into some other equity option. But here your mind is anchored to a certain value. Spread it over some time. 6 months to 12 months, depending on the scale of money. Take the lesson and make a methodical plan for yourself which you will follow at all times, because you will be faced with the same dilemma and the same confusion and same mistake once again. You should take a lesson simply because nobody should ever repeat the mistake. So with that in mind, work on an asset allocation plan. Whether you want to be 75% into equity, 25% fixed income, or 50% equity, 50% fixed income. Once you do that, then you will be able to resist this, you will be able to navigate, you will be able to traverse this thing much more nicely, because your 50% into equity would have become 70%. You would not have done this knee-jerk thing. Take the whole money out and wait and have regret now. So then you'll be moving 20% money into equity once again, move from equity to debt at the, so there'll be some method to it. And it will not be this erratic, and it will not create this kind of regret. And I can assure you that even in future, you will, if you don't frame these rules, you will do this mistake again, and this cannot be done by most people ever.
So Rashmi, it's time for you to jot down a plan for yourself, asset allocation plan. Now, Piyush wants your suggestion on a fixed income alternative for 20 to 25 years in place of an annuity plan to get regular income.
Yes, it's a good idea. Good idea also because annuity in India is not very efficient, not very cheap. Not only that, not only Piyush, but even PFRDA, which actually mandates that 40% of your money accumulated in NPS must be used for buying annuity. Yeah. But they are considering that instead of buying annuity, you can you really mount a withdrawal plan. So you are well on track. They have also understood that that should not be the only alternative, and that may not be the finest one. So the way to look at it is, the way to design it is how much income you require from on a month-on-month basis, and how much is your capital, and then see that is it really matching. One is that initial years you can't do anything about it. Any withdrawal rate beyond 6% in initial years, you run the risk of eating into your capital, and that will expose you to significant risk. Because when you are trying to have a long-term withdrawal plan from your investment, you have to make sure that you are conservative enough so that you don't dip into your capital. And you may get very unlucky with the market. So depending on that, you have to decide on the asset allocation. Maybe an all fixed income plan may not be good enough. If it is going to be an all fixed income plan which will also support a rising income, then maybe the withdrawal rate cannot exceed more than 4%. Because think of it in a very simplistic way. A withdrawal plan is nothing, but it is enabling you to take a good part of your income and leaving a small part of your growth. Assuming that you have 100 rupee and it grows by 6% or 8%. If you take out 6%, you are leaving some money, little bit of the appreciation, so that it can support a higher income later, the next year. But if you consume all of it, the capital will remain constant. So that is not a good thing, because your need for higher income for the next 25 years is guaranteed. There is no way going to be a situation that 10 years from now you will require less money. 10 years from now you are bound to require more money. So with that in mind, you have to leave a part of your appreciation or the growth. You don't have to consume all of it. With that in mind, I think just having a fixed income plan will not support it. Otherwise, you will have to settle with something like 4%, 5%, which is too low. So you will have to think of some conservative allocation, maybe 20%, 15%, 25%, 35%, depending on the scale of your investment, because you will have to assume risk if you have less capital. If you have enough capital, you can afford to have less allocation to equity. And that's about it. Make sure that you have to really convert it into a regular, a variable annuity, in a sense that this year you will be taking out, maybe the ideal plan is that whatever be the appreciation that has happened in the current year, one should take out 80% of that appreciation next year, and then leave 20% there. So you will have some cushion for your capital to grow, and this is the way you will have to revise it. So good times, your income will grow more. Bad times, you will not eat into your capital, and it will still be reasonable. So This is a discipline which is required.
Okay, now 66-year-old PR Prasad has been a real estate investor throughout his life, but now he finds it very difficult as the capital hardly appreciates, he says. So he now plans to focus on mutual funds and fixed deposits. What should be the allocation between the two, he wants to know.
I think it should be, entirely depends if it was a long-term investment, because my understanding of real estate is that, many other investment vehicles has also, produced that much return. The difference, the stark difference that we have seen with real estate is that our real estate holding eventually, somehow turns out to be long-term. Because the real estate prices don't change every day. And we only listen to those stories that, okay, somebody bought this piece of land and then, but nobody really takes into account that, okay, it was held for 15 years, it was held for 35 years. There is nothing unusual about real estate to be held for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Of course, real estate is not appreciating, and it is unlikely to appreciate because the real estate dimensions have changed. There we used to, lot has changed. I don't think it's relevant. It's important to be discussing it in this, but some other time. I think what he should be doing is he should seriously consider mutual fund, and he should consider allocation. Small allocation to equity, because equity is the only thing which will give him the gains, which will appreciate, and fixed income will actually just help him somehow, barely, sometimes beat, sometimes unable to beat inflation. So fixed income will match inflation, and equity will give him the kicker. So he need an allocation. Important thing is to invest in a mutual fund, because the one most powerful benefit of mutual fund is that you are not liable to pay taxes till you make any changes. You can buy a fund and you can hold it, and you can hold it for 15 years. You are not liable to pay taxes. If you do deposit, then whether you take the gains or not, whether you take the interest or not, you are supposed to pay taxes on the interest that you are earning on an annual basis. So deferring your income at a future date and being liable for taxes later is very valuable, because the compounding happens. You don't have the money which you don't pay by way of taxes. You don't have to really pay tax. That money is also earning. Yeah. So work on an allocation and just remain invested. That is the simplest plan that you should follow.
Now, Gopal Prasad asks, where should a self-employed woman invest her earnings of about 10,000 to 20,000 rupees a month? All the expenses are borne by her spouse.
Very lucky, and you have all the freedom, but don't relish the freedom by spending it. Acquire greater freedom by investing methodically. And I think the same principles, somebody depends on the time. If spouse is very young and she still has 20 years to work for, and that is when she'll retire, then maybe, or if you have some interim goals, if you want to make the down payment for that house, accordingly, invest in a manner which is dependent on 5 years and less. If you are likely to need the money, then it should be very conservatively invested. For a non-negotiable goal, then it should be even more conservatively invested. For a negotiable goal, like I was saying, down payment for a house which could be bought after 2-3 years, but maybe 5-6 years is also okay. Then in that case, invest in 15-20% into equity, remaining in fixed income. 5 years and more, invest the money in equity, and make sure that it remains there. Fall in habit of that. Don't look at the values every day, and that's it.
The next question has been sent in by Chanda Basu Malik, and she asks, for an individual in the highest tax bracket, does it make sense to do a systematic transfer plan from arbitrage or a low-cost equity fund instead of a liquid fund?
Doing your transfer, doing a STP has nothing to do with the tax bracket. It has more to do with your mind. You have some money and you have a large amount of money, and one should not invest in equity at one go. That is basically to manage your emotions. Tax incidence will not be substantial, because what will be the tax incidence? Assuming that you have 1 crore of rupees and you are transferring this money over the next 10 months at a scale of 10 lakh rupees a month. So the 10 lakh, the 1 crore rupee would have appreciated to 8 lakh rupees. There could have been a 5-7%, 8% appreciation, but that too on a reducing balance basis. So it will be even less. But what you have been able to do in the process is that you are able to average your investment. So you will not behave in an erratic manner, because you have saved yourself from the anxiety of investing a crore of rupees at one go, and market goes down by 10%, because if the market has gone up steadily, it can go down by 10% in a very brief period. And your 1 crore becoming 90 lakh is extremely disappointing. It can sometimes scare you, it can sometimes drive you out of the market. What you have done is you have averaged it, and that's 8 lakh rupees, 5 7 lakh rupees appreciation that would have happened on the debt component, which has remained invested while you were investing. It will be liable for taxes, fine. The reward, the cost of, and if you have to pay taxes, or it will be added to your income, 30% of that will actually go towards income. I think the benefit that you derive by averaging your investment is far more than uh, paying taxes on the appreciation on the debt component of it. And one should not be averse to paying taxes which you have to necessarily pay, because you pay taxes on your gains, you pay taxes on your earnings, you pay taxes on your profits. So at the heart of it, it's good news that you have made some money, and then a small part of it. But the primary benefit derived here is average your investment, be disciplined about it, and saved yourself from the huge anxiety.
All right, now Indraneel Haldar asks, how is the exit load applied? Is it applicable only on the profit portion, or is it applicable on the total redemption amount?
Oh, it is applied to his disappointment, it is applied on the whole amount. So if you invest a crore of rupees and it actually appreciates or even depreciates, if it becomes 99 lakh rupees, and if you take it out before the exit load period, say before 1 year you are taking it out, you'll be, and if there is 1% exit load, it will be charged on that reduced amount. So that is very disappointing. But you have to really understand that what is an exit load. I really like exit load in equity fund, because it acts as a deterrent to short-term actions. And if it actually dissuades some people to at least have 1 year view on their investment, they will understand the merit of it. They will, it saves you, it prevents you from thinking short term. So if you really don't want to behave, then pay the exit load. And exit load doesn't go in anybody's pocket. It gets back into the fund. So other investors who could suffer if you so they stand to benefit out of it.
Okay. Now, Kiran Shah wants to know if long duration and medium duration debt funds are better and safe than a bank fixed deposit, and should one invest in them?
No, the safety of bank deposits cannot be matched by a fixed income by a debt fund, because the real charm of deposit is that you get almost guaranteed return. Of course, I no longer can say that it is guaranteed, because some banks have defaulted on giving your money on time. But as compared to that, debt funds, they don't make you any promise. No mutual fund can make a promise of return, but you are likely to get more stable return, very likely not to lose money but not in medium term and short term. Maybe short term is less volatile. There are funds which never go down in value, for example overnight fund, but you don't get more return than what you get in a savings bank account. So I would say that ultra short term and short term duration funds will be able to match or somewhat little, maybe can earn you little more return than deposits. But on the safety of it, I don't think they can match for a brief period of time, in a very short period of time. Sometimes they can go down in value, but I think over a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, the kind of term that for which you do a deposit, you will end up making little more return. Not only that, the deference of the tax, that if you are liable to pay taxes on the interest income from your deposits every year, irrespective of even if it's a cumulative deposit, you are supposed to pay tax. Here you are not liable to pay any tax till you realize it, and then after 3 years you are supposed to pay capital gains tax on the appreciation after indexation. So that makes it a very tax efficient vehicle. So deferring the taxes, indexation benefit, so your tax adjusted return, post tax return on mutual fund could be far superior.
Now, Prathamesh Rathi has been investing in a mutual fund scheme for the last 7 years, but now plans to redeploy the money in another scheme due to underperformance. So will he lose on the benefit of compounding over the previous 7 years?
No, not at all, because if you have invested in equity funds, and you don't like the fund and you have invested for 7 years, you're not, because all the appreciation that has already happened, and now you're making change for betterment. You're moving into a superior fund. All the appreciation that has happened so far in the last 7 years, little bit of compounding disadvantage will be created, because you will redeem your investment, and all the gains that you will realize from as of today, 10% of that will go by way of taxes. But not all the appreciation. The appreciation that has happened since the start of the clamping of the capital gains tax, which is 1st of February 2018. All the appreciation that has happened in your investments, your funds, after 1st of March, 1st of February 2018, will be computed, and you will get a capital gains statement from the fund after you redeem it. That 10% of that will go by way of taxes, and from here on your money will start appreciating, or the benefit of compounding will start. But if the fund is horrible, or if you're giving up hope on any improved performance, do that objective evaluation. Many a times, even the finest of funds have a bad phase, and you should not quickly give up on such funds. If you have chosen your fund, and that is why I think that for most investors, choosing their funds carefully is all the more important, because funds, this is one significant serious reason why one should invest in funds for the long run. One should buy and necessarily not change, because the advantage of this compounding is quite significant. But at the same time, not get stuck only for this reason. If your fund has turned bad and you have given up on that, make changes and move on.
Yeah. Today's last question has been sent in by TK Sinha, and he wants to know if a retired person should enter the stock market.
Earlier, if you would have asked me 20 years back, I would have said that, or that was the conventional thinking, that one should not, because fixed income used to generate reasonable return, and equity, the way investors will actually participate or invest, itself was very risky. Market itself was unsafe. Now the market has become much safer. The vehicles through which you invest has become easier, and today the way the interest rates have come down, it is important. I think for most retired people, it is no longer it's not a matter of choice. You have to necessarily invest in equity in certain manner, and you have to learn it. You have to experience it. You have to learn it as quickly as possible, because if you don't invest in equity, you run, and if you have not more than adequate savings, you run the risk of outliving your savings. If you invest only in fixed income, that not investing in equity could be risky. So the earlier you appreciate this fact, and the reason why it has happened, interest rates have come down, equity has become safer, diversified, and that is the simplest way, because people used to have different options of deriving income from their capital. Either it was having a house, the rental income, or the capital appreciation, or the pension, or the fixed income returns itself were high. So that's, you no longer have the luxury. You don't have a choice, but you have to compulsorily invest in equity.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this episode. Thank you, Dhirendra.
Thank you.
Thank you to our viewers. Here's wishing financial independence for each one of you out there. If you like the show, do subscribe to our YouTube channel, keep liking our videos, and keep watching this space for more information. Take care. Bye for now.